Okay, so today we are looking for eigenvalue buckling analysis, a linear eigenvalue buckling analysis. So there is a two different ways to do the buckling analysis. One is linear and another one is non-linear. And you guys are already well aware of what is linear and non-linear. Okay. So an eigenvalue buckling analysis predicts the theoretical buckling strength of an ideal elastic structure. Okay, so these method corresponding to the textbook approach, that is elastic buckling analysis, uh, insist of an eigenvalue buckling analysis of a column matches a classical Euler solution, and you know that there is a lot of Euler solutions. So one of the Euler solution is elastic buckling analysis. Okay, basically it uses the theoretical approach to calculate the buckling load factor. So we actually calculate a factor called B buckling factor, BLF, that is buckling load factor, BLF. So we will discuss about these, what is that BLF in our upcoming slides. Okay, so if you want to know about that Euler solution, you just Google on it. You can get a lot of information which is related to the Euler solutions. Okay, and the next thing is however an imperfection and non-linearities prevents the most real world structures from achieving that theoretical elastic buckling strength. Okay, so what is actually said over here? That means whatever the component or the structures or non-linearities. Okay, this may include some surface irregularity and material non-linearities. So these actually doesn't behave like a theoretical value. So these imperfection and non-linearities prevents the most real-time world structure from achieving their theoretical elastic buckling strength. So when you are doing a linear analysis, your accuracy may be decreases. Therefore an eigenvalue buckling analysis often yield a quick, the analysis may be a quick one, but the result may be a non-conservative results. Okay, so due to this imperfection and non-linearities, it cannot be achieved to their theoretical elastic buckling limits. Okay, so if you are interested to do this analysis on non-linearities, which includes all the material non-linearity and surface non-linearity, both contact non-linearities, you can perform, you will get a better results rather than doing a linear buckling analysis. But linear buckling analysis is a computationally very less expensive one and cheaper one while comparing to non-linearities. Non-linearities analysis takes a lot of time, both for pre-processing and post-processing itself also. Okay, and I will move on to the next slide. Most accurate approach to predicting the instability in your performance is a nonlinear analysis, like I said before. So if you want a more accurate result, you can go for nonlinear buckling analysis. It involves a static analysis with a large deformation. Okay, so the next question we arised over here is okay, so I go for nonlinear analysis, but how can I do that? So that is my next question. Okay, so you can easily do a nonlinear buckling analysis, but there is no direct method. So in eigenvalue buckling environment, there is no such option to turn on and turn off the linearities like linear analysis and nonlinear analysis. So you have to define that in a pre-stressed condition. Okay, what is that pre-stressed condition? So actually you can't do a linear buckling analysis by a standalone method. So you have to perform a certain pre-stressed condition like a static structural or a transient structural analysis. After that you need to couple the linear buckling analysis to that analysis. So that is called a coupled analysis. We will discuss about what is coupled analysis in our theoretical session. Okay, in our practical session, while we do that analysis, you will clearly understand what is that coupled analysis. Okay, so when you want to include the nonlinearities, you have to include that in the pre-stressed condition, that is static structural in our cases. So there is an option in static structural that is called large deformation FX. You have to turn on it. So when you turn on it, your problem will be converted into a linear analysis, into a non-linear analysis. So that is what they are setting here. And a gradually increasing load is applied in the structure to seek the load level at which your structure become unstable. Okay, so once you turn on the large deformation effect, you can't apply any random loads. Like you can include that random loads or sudden loads in transient structural, but in if you are performing a static structural analysis, you have to increase the load in a linear manner, like gradually you have to increase the load, so otherwise your structure become unstable. Okay, so using nonlinear techniques, your model can include the features like imperfection, plastic behavior, gaps, larger deformations, like we already discussed in our static structural environment. Like you have three different types of nonlinearities, like geometrical nonlinearities, surface nonlinearities, and material nonlinearities. You can include anything, whatever you need. And in addition, using deflection control loading, you can even track the post buckling performance of your structure. So whatever the cases, like if you are defining a transient case, so at variable loads you can analyze the structure behavior for a particular seconds, like 10 second how it actually behave, or 20 second at what my structure actually behaves, or else depend upon the load at 20 kilonewton how's my structure behavior, at 50 kilonewton how's my structure is actually behaviors. So you can include, I mean you can study that also. That is called post buckled performance of your structure. Okay, and the next thing is buckling analysis in mechanical. So basically we can do the eigenvalue buckling analysis on any CAE softwares like Nastran, NSLAN, Hypermesh, ANSYS itself also. When we came to ANSYS Workbench in mechanical, so especially in ANSYS, the eigenvalue buckling analysis is a linear analysis. So note that it's a linear analysis. Like I said before, you can't change that value or assign anything in that buckling analysis environment, like it's a linear problem or non-linear problem. However, you can perform non-linearities or include non-linearities in the post-processing, I mean pre-processing environment or pre-test environment, that is static or transient one. So we discussed in that past slide, right? So therefore cannot be accounted for non-linearities. It employs us the linear analysis procedure for MAPDL. So that is our solver. So these procedure requires a preloaded environment. So I already said that a preloaded environment, that is our static structural environment, from which drawn solution data. So the entire data from the preloaded condition is used for the eigenvalue buckling analysis. Okay, so based on this requirement, an eigenvalue buckling analysis can consider as a non-linearities in that pre-test environment. Okay, so you can include the nonlinearities in the preloaded I mean pre-test environment, allowing to obtain more accurate real world solutions. Okay, so rather than compared to a traditional linear pre-test states. Okay, so you can what they said is you can include that nonlinearities in the pre-test environment. So that is all for this slide. Good. So what is the points to remember over here? So an eigenvalue buckling analysis must be linked to a pre-test condition, that is static structural analysis. This static structural analysis can either be a linear analysis or a non-linear analysis. Okay, so yep, so this is what we need to remember. So you can't perform the eigenvalue buckling analysis as a standalone analysis. You need a pre-test condition. Good. Then next, in structural structure, you have an infinite number of buckling load factor. Okay, so I already said that there is a term called buckling load factor, that is BLF. So I have discussed about this factor in our first slide. What does that means? Okay, so I will simply explain you that what is that buckling analysis means. A buckling analysis means, so you have a structure like this. So I have a one beam structure. So these beam is fixed on the bottom. Okay, so whenever I applied a load on the top, so it must be a compression load. So you know that a buckling is only happened in the compression load, it's not happened in the tensile load. When you apply the force, your structure will be behave like that. So it may be move in this manner. Okay, in this manner it can buckle like this, or else it can buckled like this, or it may be buckled like this. So there is a three configurations, like shape 1 and shape 2, shape 3, or E1, E2, E3, you can name it anyways. This is called mode shape. So mode shape. So already we performed an analysis called free run, right? So in that analysis we requested for a different mode shapes, like 10 mode shape, 20 mode shape. Like here also we requested for a mode shape. That is a what are the different configuration. So for each and every mode shape there is a value. So there is a value that is called buckling factor. This is called BLF factor. For E1 there is a buckling load factor, for E2 there is a buckling load factor, and E3 also there is a different value of buckling load factor. But what we actually looking for is the least one, so which is the very minimum load factor. So that is what we're looking for. Okay, in that value our first buckling will be happen. So in industrial perspective we don't looking for that series of bucklings, like I can have an infinite number of buckling factors, but I am only interested in the least one. So buckling is not happen to that locations. Okay, so what is that buckling factor means? A buckling load factor means it's a value a load which is needed to deform my structure. So we can call it as a LD is equal to buckling load factor into applied load, AL. For example, if you apply a load of 500 Newton over here, you will get a buckling load factor of 2. That means my first buckling will happen on 1000 Newton. So what does it says to me is you need 2 more times of loads to buckle this component. So that is what BLF means. So when I reduce this value to 250, when I reduce this value to 250 Newton, these value can be changed. So 2 to 4. So what does it means? Now my buckling load factor is 4. That means you need at least 4 times of load depend upon the current load conditions. Like now you are applying a 250 load, but you need a 4 times load, that is 1000 Newton to buckle this component. Okay, when I apply 1000 Newton of load, you get a buckling factor of 1. So that means in this value your component will be surely buckle. If you get a value which is lesser than 1, that is BLF in this analysis. So obviously the output from this analysis is a BLF factor. See, you get a value which is lower than 1, that means your component is surely buckle. Okay, so if you get a value which is more than 1, so that is not an issue. You have an option 1 or 2 times loads to withstand it by the structure. So the structure is okay for that. Okay, and what are the effects which greatly affects the buckling? Okay, so the surface nonlinearities and then material nonlinearities will make the component buckle very early. So whenever you have a can structure like this, a can structure, if there is no disturbance or any surface irregularities in this can, it can withstand a higher amount of load. If some cracks or some irregularities in this can, so the load factor is it will buckle with very low load factor. Okay, it's very low amount of load. Okay, so that is what the thing which is affects the buckling. Okay, so this is called BLF, and you will have a varieties of buckling factor, like an infinite value. So it's depend upon the load you applied to your structure. Okay, so that is what they are trying to explain here. And also buckling is only applicable for a long column. Okay, so it is not applicable for a short column. So you know that there is a method to identify which is long and short, that is called a slenderness ratio. Maybe you are studying in your engineering subjects about this. slenderness ratio. So these tells you which is a longer column and which is a smaller column. So we can use this method to identify that. Good. So what next? So our structure can have an infinite number of buckling load factor, it's fine, and each load factor is associated with a different unstable pattern. Like I said before, we get this right. I have this component, it should be fixed in here. It may be behave like this, irregular. Okay, I'm sorry. So it can be buckle like this, or else it can be buckle like this. Okay, so it can be buckle like this, or it can be buckle like this, like this. Okay, so these are all A1, A2, A3. So nothing but mode shape. So this is called basically it's an eigenvalue buckling analysis, right? It's called eigenvector, different shapes. So E1 and E2 and E3 are different shapes, eigenvector. And you get a different factors, that is buckling load factor BLF for each and every values, that E1, E2 and E3 also, that is called eigenvalue. Okay, so that is what it's said to be an eigenvalue buckling analysis. So mode shapes is called vectors, and then the value you get from here is called eigenvalues. So good. So this is indicates the instability patterns. Okay, so based upon that, however, you applied a load to a structure, the load factor can either be a positive or negative value. Okay, so you will get a both values, like positive and negative. So it depends upon the cases. In sometimes you get a positive value, so in most of the time you get a positive value, in sometimes you get a negative value. Okay, so basically in buckling analysis you only have the permission to apply the compression load. So however you are applying any loads which is tensile or something, so you will probably get a negative value. So you are applying a tensile load, you will get a negative value. Okay, so the application short the load factors of the most negative values to the most positive values. Okay, so the minimum buckling load factor we are looking for. So like I said before, we are only interested on the minimum buckling load factor. So you will get a infinite number of buckling load factors for a particular analysis. Okay, and however a buckling mode shapes does not represents the actual deformation. Okay, so it's very important. So why it is important is you will get a load factor for each and every buckling load factor, you will get a deformation. So that deformation is not an actual deformation, so it's just a tentative displacement. For that analysis you can visualize, okay, for this factor my structure may be behave like this. Okay, so that is what they are trying to explain over here. So it's not an actual deformation. Yep, so far we have completed our theory session which is related to the eigenvalue buckling analysis. In our next session we will discuss about how to perform this eigenvalue buckling analysis on a tower structure by using ANSYS workbench. Okay, so we will meet on our tomorrow session, and that is all for this session.